York, and I had just gotten a treatment, and the treatments are painful and exhausting. So yeah.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
don't know if you
Oh,
noticed on most of my calls, I'm standing.
yeah.
Sitting, I can't sit. I just
Well, it's
can't
funny you
sit.
say that. So you're doing it because of a medical condition, but I rarely ever sit during any of my coaching calls. And again, from a mental perspective, if you're sitting, you're in a relaxed state. It's a convenient
Mhm.
state. Now you're doing it because of medical reasons, but I'm doing it intentionally because of a commanding presence. In other words, stand, stand, stand. You're the presenter. You never sit, you never chill. It's just my perspective. It doesn't mean it's right or it's wrong, but probably say 99 times out of 100, I'm always in a standing position. Unfortunately, for you, it's a medical thing. So I hope everything works out
Yeah,
well for you. Good luck with that.
I appreciate that.
All right. Good morning, gang. So let's get right into this. I want to share some things with you. By the way, let me make sure everybody knows who I am. Okay, we're all regulars. Here we go. Paul Conti again. You know that I'm filling in for Felicia. She's away with family. So whether that's a good surprise or a bad surprise, it doesn't matter. You got me for the next 30 minutes. Here we go, right? Let's get right into this as quickly as possible. So the thought process from my perspective this morning, I just did this yesterday. So I have private coaching calls I do for my own company separately. And we did this one yesterday. I happen to just leave it up because I do that intentionally or unintentionally. But for the benefit of you guys and some seasoned people in the business, I want you to see this and I want you to give me your thoughts on this. One of the things I teach in the private coaching is what I call the buyer seller profile. Now, from a realtor's perspective, that might normally be how many bedrooms, how many bath, location, house, all that kind of stuff. The profile I'm speaking of has nothing to do with that and has everything to do with assembling your bod. I know, Heather, you're more newer here, but bod stands for Board of Directors. Board of Directors. Let me explain to you, and I go into much deeper meaning as to why I created this and why I've trained on it. So if you just think about this, most corporations have board members. So jokingly, but seriously, and I say this all the time to everybody, keep this in mind. I believe we as individuals live up to the title we give ourselves. People live up to the title you give them. I need you to grasp that concept because I also introduced the idea that you, as the CEO of your corporation, well, you're either running a business, a corporation, or an empire. As Heather indicated, she picked Dynasty because Empire in her area was already taken. Heather, I remember that, baby. That was a good one. So just think about how we're mentally perceiving ourselves, how we're mentally putting that out there in the world. I either run a business, a corporation, or an empire, or I'm an employee of the business I think I'm running. How are you conducting yourself? So let that sink in for a minute, because to me, gang, the number one thing I really put a lot of energy into is mindset. And you've got to read that backwards. You've got to learn how to set your mind. Reading it backwards. I read a lot of things backwards and they provide clarity for me. So mindset is learning how to set your mind. Well, the first thing I would say is, do you believe you're the CEO of your real estate business, corporation, or empire? And which one of those titles do you want to give yourself? I'm not going to tell you which one you pick, right? But we know that empire is big, corporation sounds pretty big, and business is kind of what I'm trying to do now. Or am I an employee of the real estate business that I think I'm running? Well, I want to share this with you on the board. You can take a picture, snapshot, and obviously it's going to be in the recording. I'm not going to go into these details or necessarily that stuff, but I want you to understand, here's what a profile looks to me. This is a real estate agent who gave me a buyer, a client. I'm a mortgage lender in all 50 states. I've got every mortgage product under the sun. I do things most others have never even seen or heard of before. We'll share that another day. That was a very cheap plug. But it's bigger because think about this. What many of you have or aspire to have is a lender that can close your loans on time. That's not the prerequisite to earning a seat on your board of directors. Well, wait, I thought it is. Isn't that lender supposed to close on time? Yeah, but that's not the bar. Think about this. Let's identify provider or partner. Provider or partner? These are titles, gang. Provider. Are they a service provider or are they a partner? Well, Paul, what's your definition of those two things? This is where my perspective may differ from yours, but I'm going to share it. A provider is someone that provides a service. A partner is someone that is contributing to the corporation so they can earn from the corporation. I use people out of contribution, not convenience. Two more words you should probably write down. So we've got several we've talked about now, right? Provider versus partner. Well, when you take inventory as the owner of a corporation or an empire, you need to identify, is this person contributing to the growth of the corporation, or are they just servicing the clients I give them? This is an aha moment for many people, because I'm going to ask you, for the sake of this example, when was the last time that lender, that home inspector, that photographer, that homeowner's insurance agent, the list goes on. When was the last time that person called you and said, Heather, thank you so much for contributing to my family, my business, helping me put my kids through college. Heather, thank you. I love you so much. Heather, please tell me how I can contribute to the growth of your business and help you with your children and your aspiring goals. Tell me the last time any of you have received that call. That's a stop in your tracks moment. Heather, you came off mute. Talk to me, darling.
Yeah, I was actually going to say this year, I'm glad that you touched on this. And this is the second coaching call I've been in this morning, and like it's on a roll. So it's just in the cards that I'm learning about this today. But um, you touching on this is good because my first year in real estate, I did what my coach or mentor told me to do, went with the lenders he told me to go with. However, they weren't feeding my business. So this year, I have spent a lot of time meeting one-on-one with lots of different lenders, vendors, what have you. And I have learned they don't feed my business. So I have stopped really going to a lot of the like realtor events because I just feel like it's a waste of my time because I could be spending my time at other events with people that are going to reciprocate.
So, man, love you, kiddo. That is an absolutely fabulous evaluation. Let me just offer my 2 pennies for what they're worth, right? So let's talk about this for a second. First and foremost, here's what Paul Conti never does. Never has a cup of coffee with anybody, never goes to lunch, dinner, happy hour, or networking functions. Never. Why? Well, now let's take a look here. I'm 25 years doing this. In the beginning, I did all of that. And what I learned was, like Heather just attested, waste of my talent. Waste of my talent. I want to be paid for talent, not time. I want to be paid for talent, not time. As I get older, I value time even more, which gets me to harness more of my God-given energy into the talent he gave me. I want to be paid for talent, not time. So Paul Conti doesn't do those things anymore. He learned. He doesn't do those things because Heather, it's this simple. You're having a conversation. You said lender or vendor. Let's look at those two things. Those are titles. Titles. I don't call them vendors. It doesn't mean I'm right, gang. Again, recognize my perspective serves me, and it may help you. If I call you a vendor, you're going to act like a vendor. So let's talk about that for a second. What is a vendor? Heather, what is a vendor to you? What are your thoughts? You said vendors, you use the word. What does that mean?
Well, vendors in the sense that I am learning, my definition would be it's all the people that show or people companies that show up that want something from you. They have a handout. They're not necessarily ready and willing to reciprocate. They also are not willing to make you and this is what I have started to call myself. I want to be one of your top 3 or your top 5. I know that I'm not going to be the only person that's your go-to. However, if I can be that top 2 or 3 or 5 that you pick, That's what I want to be, because that means that we have a partnership. I'm not your vendor, you're not my vendor. We have a partnership. We are both contributing to the growth of each other's companies.
Heather, do you live in Ohio?
Indiana,
Utah?
Indiana.
Oh, so you can't have multiple wives. Or you
We're
can
not,
in
we're
your
not,
state.
yeah, we're not supposed to.
Yeah. It's just interesting to me because when you present yourself, you tell that person you're allowed to have multiple spouses. You just said it. And you don't live in Utah. So I don't know why that's acceptable to say to somebody, it's okay to have multiple spouses. Somebody
Well,
fight
you
me.
need to date a few people first to figure out which was the good one.
No problem with the dates, baby. I'm okay with that, right? I get that entirely. But what Heather said was, I'm okay being one of three or your top five. This is post date. She's saying, I'm okay to be one of the five spouses. Now, keep this in mind, gang. What you put out there in the title is what you're going to live up to, and so are they. Cindy's right. Sometimes you got to date a couple frogs to get the prince. I get that. I understand. But guess what I don't do? I don't use my time or talent in coffee, lunch, dinner, happy hours to figure that out. I can do it in 60 seconds on a call. So let's get back to the vendor thing. Keep in mind. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Sid.
But can you figure that out in 60 seconds in a call? I've had people that sound great and then they don't pull through and they don't take as good a care of my clients as I wished.
You're 100% right, Cindy. 100% right. But let me at least do this. Do you have a question or two you would say on the call that would warrant a cup of coffee?
No,
Let
but
me
I
give
should
you,
have.
well, let me give you a couple, right? And this is my point, to value yourself more. So in other words, what's your pre-screening process? What is that? Well, first of all, let's go back to this thing real quick because Heather said vendor. She kept saying, these are the people showing up trying to get business from you. It's real simple, gang. I don't call you a vendor. You are, to me, one of two things. And let me ask you this question. If you put money into Apple stock and next month Apple stock drops 10%, do you keep putting money in the Apple stock that drops? Now, some might say yes, because you're going to dollar cost average. I believe in the company. I get all of that. But here we go. Month 2, the stock drops again. Month 3, the stock drops again. At what point in time do you stop putting your time, talent, and money into a declining stock? This is just a different perspective. Here's what I see that person as. I am going to invest in you. And what do you expect when you make an investment? A return. A return on my investment. You are an investor to me. I'm going to invest in your children, your family, your business. I'm going to invest in your future. You see, these words are not normally leaving a realtor's mouth. I'm being very specific because I'm looking for a specific result. Gang, keep in mind, Paulie says all the time, if you want someone to react differently towards you, you must act differently towards them. If you sound like every realtor, they're going to treat you like every realtor. But if you are operating an empire or a dynasty, you're going to conduct yourself differently. I'm interviewing for a board seat on my corporation. A board seat. I've elevated the status, the title. I'm not looking for a loan officer. I'm not looking for a home inspector. I'm elevating the status. I'm looking to fill a board seat on my real estate empire, my real estate corporation, my real estate business. Let me explain to you what that looks like. And you give them the job description. It's as simple as this. When, if, depending on where you are and what you apply from what I teach, when I contribute to the growth of your business, my question to you is, are you interested and willing to learn? Those 3 words are separators. Are you interested and willing to learn how to contribute to my family and the growth of my business? Heather, think about this. If you're a lender, if you're a homeowner's insurance agent, if you're a title rep, what do you say when I say that to you, Heather?
It makes me think, honestly, because then I feel like I have to have a deeper response. It's more of an emotional response
At a
than,
girl.
yeah.
At a girl. So I'm going to get you to what? React differently towards me because I acted differently towards you. Gang, you guys call them objections. I say it's feedback. It's never an objection. It is feedback based on the information you gave them. If you say, are you going to reciprocate? You're going to give me something back. How are you going to grow my business? They don't know how. So they're not going to do something they don't know how to do. But if I say to you, would you be interested and willing to learn how to help my family in the same way I'm helping yours, how to contribute to the growth of my business? No, I'm not interested. I am not willing to learn. Well, then I got the wrong guy. There's no humility. There's no interest. I got to move on. See, the idea, gang, is I'm okay with dating a couple people, but wouldn't it be easier if you asked the right question up front? That's a 30-second question. Would you be interested and willing to learn how to contribute to my family and my business in the same manner I'm going to contribute to yours? No. Thank you so much. Move on. You should have had coffee with that guy. You should have had lunch with that woman. You're nuts. You're not valuing yourself. You're nuts.
And
Again,
so Paul,
go
is
ahead.
that so you mentioned pre-screening process. And so like like in this process, um if we're selecting an attorney, an estate planning attorney to be on our board of directors, isn't there some sort of pre-screening that we do or say to them before we say, are you interested and willing to learn how to contribute to my business?
Yes, and that is the pre to this particular call. This is out of context, but for those that have been coming to my calls, we recognize something. Your obligation to the corporation and your board members is to make them money. You will not get somebody's intention until you get their attention. How do you get their attention? Shkaro. That's money, green, money. So it's a little bit out of context, gang. For those that have been following me, you know that's what you're supposed to do. You're not allowed to go on that date, as Cindy put it, unless you're bearing gifts. You're wasting your time and your talent. I'm going to show you, to bring this full circle, how to do it. This was happening yesterday. This is actually my Wednesday, not the pack calls. These are my private, but I sometimes tickle and share you guys with what this is. See this right here? Jenna is a real estate agent. She gave Paul Conti a client. Let's take a look at this, gang. This is the profile. This is what, again, Linda and I are starting Monday with private coaching. And this is exactly what I'm going to invest a lot of time with Linda, and I'm going to share you guys right now. Here's the profile. You ready? My job is to report back to the boss what I learned. My job as the lender, not to close the loan on time, not to hit the commitment date. That's all standard operating procedure. I could do that in my sleep. That's no big deal. Anybody can do that. The separator is I'm going to contribute to the growth of your business. Here's how. I reported back to Jenna. She knew she was going through a divorce. This client going through a divorce, has one child, 8 years old. She does not have a financial advisor. She does not have a will, no trust. She's going to need homeowners insurance because she's moving from Chicago to New Jersey. You're going to give business to a homeowners insurance agent, a home inspector, and a title company. Here's the profile. I go back to Jenna and I say, Jenna, let's build your corporation with this information. You got the leverage, baby. So now I'm going to say to the estate planner, you ready for this? Heather, come back off mute. I'm going after Heather. She's new. I'm either going to push Heather away or she's going to get closer.
No, I think I'm gonna hug you if I can. No,
All right,
I love
ready?
it.
I am the estate planner. You are about to meet me through a title company, another attorney, et cetera, et cetera. Another day for that. So here we go, right? I'm the estate planner. I say to Heather, the real estate agent, Heather, Joe Blow at Title USA told me to reach out to you because he said you're a phenomenal real estate agent. He loves me and he loves you. I, every year, have 5, 6, 7 clients that pass away and need to sell their home. I'm looking for the right partner to handle those sales. Tony says, you're phenomenal. Heather, I'm just curious. I have one right now. She's not dying, but she's moving into the area. She needs a will for her child, and she needs a realtor to help her buy a $500,000 house. I'm trying to find the right agent for her. Do you think you can help her, Heather?
I most certainly could.
You most certainly could. My next question to you, Heather, would be this. Listen, I'm an estate planner. Would you be interested and willing to learn how to help my business and help me feed my family in the same manner I'm about to do for you?
Yes, I would.
Great. Let me teach you what that looks like, right? So let me just share some stats with you, and you let me know if you know this or not, because I don't want to bore you. 67% of the population doesn't have a will. No trust. 67% of the population needs me. Heather, I believe you told me in a previous conversation or earlier in this one, I'm making this up, gang. Last year, you closed 12 clients. Or the year
That's
before,
correct.
that was your best year. So I remember, you closed 12. Here's my question, Heather. How many of them updated their will after they made settlement?
None of them.
So, Heather, if I could show you how to ask that question, would you be willing to call your 12 closings back over the next 12 days? Heather, I'm only asking you make one phone call a day. I'm happily giving you this client who wants to buy a $500,000 house. Would you be willing to make one phone call a day to ask every one of your clients, Mary, how's the dog, how's the kids, how's the house? Oh, by the way, did you update your will after settlement? Because if you call your 12 people over the next 12 days, you'll have clients from me. Are you willing to do that for our partnership?
Of course, I do it every day.
Gang, this is so easy. It's a joke. Real estate is simple. We're making it difficult. We get in our own way.
We also don't want people like you opening eyes to see how simple it is because we're overthinking the processes.
Yes, by the grace of God, you've been brought into my life and I've been brought into yours. So I'm so thankful for that opportunity, right? And I take this very seriously, not lightly. I'm prepared. I come with my documents. I got my lesson plans. This is life altering. God's given this to me as a gift. And I treat it as such. So keeping that in mind, gang, this is a real life profile from a client that a realtor gave me. Now, what does a normal mortgage guy do? You're approved. Here's your approval letter. Go buy a house. Paulie says, wait a second. You don't have a will? Don't worry about it. Heather has the right professional to take care of your estate planning needs after you make settlement. You have $200,000 in a savings account in a bank and nobody helping you navigate your financial decisions. Heather's got a phenomenal financial girl, a phenomenal financial guy. I'll let her know to connect you to that person. You need a partner, not a lender. You've had lenders. They close on time. That's great. Take me to lunch. Here's your little certificate for Starbucks. Here's your bottle. What? Again, let's go back to, are you interested and willing to learn how to contribute to my family and my business in the same manner I just did for you? I'm a perspective coach, gang. The specialty I provide for you is seeing something differently than maybe it's being seen, and also linguistic execution. Linguistic is words, execution is death. You're either killing it because of the words you're using, or you're getting killed because of the words you're using. Same thing. So it is about what? Setting our mind with an altered perspective to get what it is that we believe we're supposed to be getting. But if we don't see it or ever hear about it, we don't know. To Heather's point, if you never saw or heard it like that, how could you achieve it? You can't. Which is why I have a big issue with people saying, think outside the box. That's one of the stupidest statements anybody can make. Here's why. Your brain is your box. It can't think outside of what it knows until it learns it. But if it doesn't learn it, it can't magically do it. I can't say to you now, think outside the box. I don't know how to do it. It's about the exposure to the environment, gang. And then what are you going to do with that? If you believe that was a gift from God, you better run with it. If you don't use your gifts, you will lose your gifts. You, to me, you're a gift. You think I'm here to help you? You're here to help me. What a blessing. You hold me accountable to knock it out of the park every time I'm here. I don't have an option, or you will fire me. And then God might take some things from me. Don't do that, Lord. Please don't do that. Real estate is easy. You must believe that. If you would rather profess about the struggles in real estate with the interest rates, the inflation, and the inventory, oh my, that's like the Wizard of Oz. When the scarecrow, lions and tigers and bears, oh my. Stop with that. Stop. It's the triple P. They got the triple I. Inflation, inventory, interest rates. That's the fear. Paulie says you got PPP. Pandemic, pivot, profit. Pandemic, pivot, profit. This is a pivot. You've never done this before. You're now learning how to do it. The pandemic, what? COVID-19, COVID-20, COVID-21? There's more coming. Who cares? Gang, you're either coming from a pandemic, you're in a pandemic, or you're about to enter a pandemic. It's called life. How beautiful is this magnificent experience that we've been gifted? Stop finding fault with it. And if you're having trouble doing that, you get with people that don't see the fault. I'm giving you an example. Stop looking through a microscope, look through a telescope. But if somebody's not giving you the telescope, how are you going to see this? You're not. You're not. That's why you come to environments like this. That's why you step up and go to private coaching. You want to go to the next level. That's the thought process. So simply the takeaway today, we've talked about multiple terms. Provider versus partner. How to engage them. Are you interested and willing to learn? Those three words are the separator. If somebody says, yes, I am, great, let me teach you. Your job now is to teach what you're learning here. And if we're not equipped yet, I always tell you all the time, take notes as if you are required to teach it, because you are. If somebody says, yes, I'm interested, what does that mean? You're going to give me a kickback? You're going to give me a buyer? You're going to give me a seller? I don't have those. So now what? You must teach them. That's what you're learning here. But just to share with you, the separators are the words that I'm sharing with you. Linguistic execution. Understand the words, digest the words, make them become part of you, and think about the logic and the common sense behind the word. Please, gang, share with me your interpretation of what you heard today to make sure I'm serving you appropriately. It's not always what I say, it's mostly what you heard. Thoughts? Engagement? What do you got? Okay, we're done. You have my number. If you ever want to engage, role play, chit chat, give me a shout. My 30 minutes is up, gang. God bless you guys. Let's apply what we learned today. Stop here, look, right? Learn from it, then earn from it. Come on now. Go get it. Have a beautiful day, everybody.